Today we're making parsnip apple puree. Now, these are all the ingredients you'll need for it, and a little bit of olive oil. Here's the apple diced, here's the shallots diced, here's your sage, and your parsnips chopped, and some water. Now we're going to go over to the stove and show you how to cook it. You start by heating up your pan and putting a little bit of olive oil in it so we can saute our shallots. Then you put the shallots in the pan. Mix them up in the oil a little bit. And we're just going to give them a little browning. I don't use much oil at first. I'd rather add a little more later than use too much to start with. Now if the shallots are light brown, see they're all light brown, then you want to add just a little bit more oil, just in a couple of the spots that are a little bit dry. Now we're going to add our apples. You throw the apples in there. Mix it up real good. Maybe even a little bit more oil. I didn't put enough in. Like I said, I'd rather put in a little bit less and add than put too much in. So you can coat them a little bit so they'll brown real good. We want to brown our apples a little bit. So the apples will sit here for a couple minutes and cook, and just stir them every once in a while so they don't burn or anything. When the apples have just a little bit of color to them, then you want to add your parsnips. There we go. And this is going to make a pretty decent batch. This will probably make 2.5 cups or more, 3 cups of the puree. This is quite a bit of puree right here. So you want to cook it just for another minute or two and allow the flavors just to kind of get together. Okay, after a couple minutes of cooking them all together, you want to add your water. And you want to add enough water to cover the mixture. So this may not be quite enough yet. I'm going to have to add a little bit more water than that. You don't want too much, but you want enough to cover it because it will go down. And then you still want to be able to puree it. Then once you get all the water in, stir it up really good. Get all those flavors from the bottom in there. Get it mixed up real good so everything's all nice and moist. And then you're going to put in your sage. Put the sage in there and just kind of mix it around so it gets down in there and starts to get all over the place. Now you're going to cover this and you're going to cook it for probably 5 minutes or so, depending on how long it takes for the parsnips to cook, because the apples are almost all the way cooked, but the parsnips still need to cook more. I'm going to add a little bit more water to it. And you can always add water throughout the course of it cooking if you realize that it's disappearing too quick. So cover it up and let it just sit there and cook for about 5 minutes. Okay, the first thing you do is you fish out your sage. Okay, now after about 5-6 minutes or so, maybe a little longer, it all depends on the parsnips and the size of them. As soon as they're soft, you take off the lid, double check, make sure everything's nice and soft, and then you fish out your sage. Get it all out of there. Just because it'll be overbearing if you end up grinding it in there. Sage is quite strong. Okay, sage is gone. Plenty of liquid in there. Turn the burner off. Then you want to, I'm sorry, you got to put a little salt and pepper in it. Put about a teaspoon of salt. And I like a lot of pepper, so I, you know. Oh, this is that dumb slow shaker. Okay, I'd probably put a little bit more than what's in here if possible. Let's see. There we go. Okay. That's a decent amount of pepper. If you need more later, you'll taste it and know, but that looks like a decent amount of pepper. And then carefully pour it into your food processor. It's going to be very hot. First thing I do is I pour the liquid in. And then slowly put in the other stuff. Whoops. And mine's a little full, so I'm going to have to be really careful when I blend it. If it's this full, you got to be really careful. Go real slow and pulse it. Make sure the liquid doesn't come flying up again. Okay. Takes it a little bit to do its thing, especially if it's this full. See how hot it is. I can smell it. It smells really good. A little stir. Okay, once it's all pureed, it's going to look like mashed potatoes. Then you want to put it in a bowl of some sort and serve it on your stuff. Let's see, it's really going to be hot. See, it looks just like mashed potatoes. Now that it gets down a little bit, you can pour it out better. Oh yeah. Really, really smells good. Can you smell it, cameraman?
Oh, it does.
Okay. See? And it's really just the consistency.
Here's my spoon.
It's really just the consistency of mashed potatoes. Mmm.
That was my spoon.
Mmm.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's very good. And this is the second time I've made it, and it comes out the same every time. It doesn't seem to vary at all. Really easy to make, really consistent. Bye.